Time for the final race of the evening here. The season opener for Series 5 of PCA Sim Racing, brought to you by Porsche. Porsche, there is no substitutes. James Pike here with Taylor Burris and Ryan Bowers. Podium Esports brings you coverage of the final race of the evening, where Michael Coopersmith is your pole sitter with a time of 1:28.087 seconds. Theodore Framheim will roll off from second. Leah Radzitis begins from third. Fourth will be Greg Carr. Robert Schlegel rolls off from fifth. Sixth will be Matthew Kikis. Lee Peterson rolls off from seventh. Eighth will be Billy Smith. James Patak and William Anderson roll off from ninth and 10th.
11th will be James Hugh, followed by John Malia in 12th position, followed by Mark Hugh, brother to James, and he'll be starting in 13th. Dorian Kosnick will be starting in the 14th position with Dewey Kang starting 15th. Jacob Schum will be starting in the 16th position with Shabala Banyopaje in 17th. Greg Fullwood starting in the 18th position with Michael Johnson in 19th. Doug Metzel will round out your top 20.
Charlie Al rolls off from 21st. 22nd is Chris Braun. Christian Rava is 23rd. Igor Soiker rolls off from 24th. 25th is Brian Swift. Jonathan Schum, 26th. 27th, Matt Mitchell. And Michael Polisek. If he comes in, he will start 28th tonight. Track facts one more time for those of you who haven't had the chance to watch them tonight. WeatherTech Raceway at Laguna Seca is our virtual home in Monterey, California. This is the full course at the circuit. It's a 4.048 mile, 6.515 kilometer circuit with 11 turns. We race at sunrise, 7:20 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, local time in sim on May 15th, 2020, the local day, or the default day for iRacing in the sim. 63 degrees Fahrenheit air temp, 64 degrees Fahrenheit track temp, winds to the west at 5 miles an hour, and humidity down to 59%. So easiest conditions I think we've seen since the beginning. We yet again go for 40 minutes of racing to wrap up the evening, and tonight's broadcast of this pro class race is brought to you by Porsche. There is no substitute. And setups for those who are not able to put together their own are brought to us by our friends at the Virtual Racing School. So big thanks to VRS for providing the setups that drivers might use if they so choose for Series 5. And for more information on them, you can visit www.virtualracingschool.com. All about Michael Coopersmith and Theodore Framheim, those two leading us to green in the final race of the evening from PCA Sim Racing Series 5 season opener at Laguna Seca. Coopersmith will wait, take the green flag. We are off and we are underway with race 4-4. The best of the best in PCA Sim Racing are underway at Laguna Seca. They nearly went 3 wide from about 5th on back down into the Andretti hairpin. And the question is, how does everybody get on the brakes? Pretty well, I would say, as Coopersmith will go to first. And here comes Radzitis, who looks to the inside of Framheim, but Framheim will have the lane going into turn 3. He'll take over that second spot once again. Radzitis, the third side-by-side for fourth for the moment, although Robert Schlegel will jump ahead of Greg Carr, take that over. So first side-by-side battle now, well, gotta go a little bit further back, but they make that train all the way down into that first corner up the hill.
Yeah, once you got to go a little bit further back for another close battle. That's between Robert Spiegel and Greg Carr, which Carr gets a great run and makes a little contact as he goes into the beat. More contact, hard into the concrete wall right there. Damage indefinitely for the 18 of Greg Carr as he is around, and it looks like he's going to have to try to loop it around and get a tow, but unfortunate for the number 18 Porsche.
Very weird. Just never seemed like the car was settled, I think, and just sort of bounced off the inside of Robert Schlegel into the fence. So tough break there for Greg Carr early on in this race. Meanwhile, everybody else carries on. Those front three have separated themselves, and it's Carr who slides way, way back to 27th. Schlegel to 4th, and now Matthew Kikis running in the 5th spot.
Matthew Kikis has been a long-time favorite here in the PCA Sim Racing Series, as he is currently running in the top 5, holding off another fan favorite, Leif Peterson, who's currently in 6th position, and then Billy Smith, a former champion. So a lot of the heavy hitters, a lot of the former champions involved in this class here, as they have just come around to complete lap 2. 38 minutes left on the clock, so still early on, a lot can happen.
Been a while since we've seen Billy Smith in PCA competition, but his name forever etched in the history books as the inaugural champion of PCA sim racing. We ran the 911 GT3 Cup cars back in the spring of last year. It was Billy Smith who was the champion of that series. So we'll see if he can put together another title run in this season's cracking these fantastic Cayman machines. But I think it's maybe also pertinent to note that right behind him, we've got another one of our Team Haggerty members, James Patak, in the 721 machine, right behind Billy Smith and running in P7. So he's one member of Team Haggerty to watch out for in this pro race. Another Team Haggerty member just a little bit further back, Doug Metzel in the 22 machine, also running the Haggerty colors tonight. So we'll keep you posted on how Team Haggerty runs over the course of our pro class event this evening. Still Cooper Smith ahead of Framheim, but maybe not for long. Framheim was faster that last time by a 10th, and I imagine that he's going to continue to turn up the wick and the pressure on Cooper Smith. And Framheim out of the Golden Gate region of the PCA, hailing out of San Francisco, and he got a good run there. He goes to the inside at turn 4. He had to check up though to make the corner, but Cooper Smith didn't get the greatest run out of the corner, and now here comes Framheim to the inside. And Teddy, as he's known by friends and family, is going to try and go side by side with Cooper Smith, and will maintain that spot and just about managed to hold on there, but couldn't quite stick with it.
Yeah, definitely a big issue right there as Cooper Smith tries everything that he can to get around, but has to wait as they go up the Ray Hall straight. This could be an opportunity for Cooper Smith to set up a pass as they head down into the corkscrew.
So Golden Gate coming in hot, coming in to try and take over the spot. Cooper Smith out of the Hudson Valley region, which covers everything just north of Westchester County in New York, if you know Poughkeepsie, New York, part of the Hudson Valley region, not to be confused with the Hudson Champlain region, which covers most of the Hudson River Valley that runs north through that eastern edge of New York State. That's where James Huth is from. Huth currently running in the 11th position. So, and keep your eyes on that 12 car as well if you want to see some New Yorker action. But I got plenty of New York and California and Canada in there too. Liam Renzitas also in the mix, part of the Upper Canada region of the PCA. So pretty diverse spread geographically between that group, but they are 1, 2, and 3 at the moment.
Yeah, a very diverse group of drivers in this class as they're still doing battle right now. We're still on board as we watch Michael Cooper Smith in his number 2, and now we are on board with the 106 of Theodore as he tries to get around Michael.
To the inside, he goes to the race lead. Teddy Framheim will jump out there, try and hang on to the inside. Is he going to make it stick in that corner? He will indeed. Cooper Smith had nowhere to go. Theodore Framheim to the race lead at Laguna Seca.
Great pass indeed for Theodore as he tries everything to hold on, and as they head down into the corkscrew, he will retain the race lead.
Oh, no, he won't. He loses it and overshot the corkscrew and just ran off into the gravel. And Cooper Smith now back to the point. Redzitis up to second, and Framheim no sooner had he taken the race lead for a moment than he overshot the corner and just couldn't quite get it slowed down in time and gave up first and second.
Detrimental indeed for Theodore. He's going to have to try to find another way to work it down, calm down a little bit. As we get a look at the replay, there you'll see Theodore takes the race lead from Michael Cooper Smith as they make the run up the Ray Hall straight. As they continue forward into the braking zone for the corkscrew, you will see the mishap that you see Theodore make into there, and there he goes around off course in through the gravel, and there he goes. So not too severe, but he will cost a lot of time for him.
Big time move there from Framheim to save it through the grass. In fairness, I think it's impressive that he didn't lose any more space than he did, but still back by about 2 seconds and change to Cooper Smith. And Redzitis is right there in the middle, about a second ahead of Framheim and about a second back of Cooper Smith. And then fourth, Matthew Kiggins, who I will admit, as a native North Carolinian, I will always have a soft spot for the fellow Carolina region members, and Kikis is one of them, coming out of Raleigh, North Carolina. And if you didn't get the chance to see it on this channel, you can go back and watch after our broadcast is done. But to round out the Summer Fun series that preceded all the interludes and preludes for Series 5, they took the 911 RSRs to Talladega, just like Nick Tandy did back in October of last year when that famed Coca-Cola Porsche ran around Talladega Sugar Speedway, and they took the Porsche's plate racing. And Matthew Kikis took home the victory in that race, running a throwback livery to Tony Stewart's rookie paint scheme back in 1999 when he ran the Home Depot Pontiac Grand Prix for Joe Gibbs Racing. You get somebody from a region, you always get brownie points. You get somebody running a livery from a favorite driver, you get double brownie bonus points. So Kikis gets 2 brownies from Monsieur Pike, and is probably going to get a brownie at the end of the night for running in P4 if he can hang on. Really solid run so far for the 15 machine.
Yes, very good, solid run for him indeed for Matthew Kikis. Is he going to be able to be a contender for the top 3? We'll have to find out as it's closing in on 30 minutes left to go for the number 15 Porsche of Matthew Kikis.
Got some friends of Robert Schlegel in this as well, so we'll take a moment to highlight him as he tries to hold off Leif Peterson, which is a tricky and tough task, to say the least, to give up the spot to Peterson, so Schlegel back to 7th. But Schlegel, another one of those Rocky Mountain drivers who seem to be pretty prolific as of late, but he coming out of that little split that covers Denver, Cheyenne, and the western part of Nebraska, now looking for the spot back up the corkscrew. Going to try and dive it down to the inside. Doesn't quite have enough to get the run on Peterson, and now he's going to have to hold off Jason Dyke and John Malia, but Schlegel also in the mix too.
4 or 5 cars under a blanket right now as we see Schlegel holding off James Patak and John Malley as they head up to turn 11 once again. A good opportunity for these drivers to try to make a pass in there, as we've seen time and time again all night across all the other classes that came before the pro class as they come down the front straightaway once again. But Schlegel doing a great job as he is making his debut here with the PCA.
Schlegel making his debut in the pro class. A solid run, to be fair. Top 10, nothing to sneeze at if you are that number 28 car. As Michael Coopersmith has extended his lead on Redzitis a little bit, but Teddy Framheim beginning to run down that 05 machine, and even though he made the mistake to give up the lead, beginning to atone for his mistake in relatively short order. He's already right back on the rear bumper of that 05 machine.
Yeah, he is right there as they come underneath the VP Racing Fuel Bridge and head up towards the Ray Hall Straight. This could be the opportune time for Theodore to make up that position and get back inside the top 2 as they go down the Ray Hall Straight, heading towards the braking zone, towards the corkscrew. He takes his time, hits his marks, runs nice, clean, hits the apex of both sections of the corkscrew before they head into the rainy curve.
Back into the rainy curve they go. I think the question might be, where does Framheim make the move, and where does he try and sort himself out ahead of Leon Redzitis? You would think the Andretti hairpin would be a natural spot, but is it rather the only spot? Maybe that's the bigger question.
Well, we've seen a lot of passes going into the Andretti hairpin, but we've also seen a lot of mistakes happen. And I'm pretty sure all these drivers, even though they have been practicing getting ready for their race, they listened in on the other broadcast and saw what happened when drivers decided to dive it in a little too deep into the Andretti hairpin.
Don't want to go too crazy into the Andretti hairpin. We saw multiple drivers have issues across the board in the first 3 races, where you can certainly throw it in there, but if you throw it in, you also mix the apex and end up going wide out, as Framheim nearly got caught out there and just about ran himself into the sand coming out of turn 3. It was close for that number 106, but he gathered it back up. Problem is that he lost time to Redzitis and slipped back by about half a second, so he'll have to make that time back up, and then make that time back up to Coopersmith as well.
Framheim trying to convert a little bit of a throwback, taking it back to the days when Porsche was involved with the World Rallycross Championship. So, good, nice little thing, but I don't think it will work in a GT4 here.
don't know if the GT4s are necessarily designed to be rally cars, but
No, they're not.
I like the thought. I like the thought because Robert Slagle had an issue coming up the hill, and James Patak comes up. So that's one more spot for one of the Team Haggerty drivers. John Malia, who had some success in Series 3 and 4, is also in the mix here, right behind Slagle and trying to run down that 28 machine, as is William Anderson, as is James Hughes.
James and Mark Hughes, probably the most cleanest and gentleman drivers of the PCA. Very hospitable with all the competitors here, and just all around good guys for the most part.
I feel like we probably should tell that story again for all the new folks coming in Series 5. But if you go back to Series 1, you go find the replay of the race at Watkins Glen. There was an incident between Billy Smith and Michael Polisek, and two drivers who eventually became champions of PCA sim racing in their own right. Who got together in turn 1 at Watkins Glen, and James Hughes was close enough in P3 that he took over the race lead. But as soon as he got ahead as those two wrecked, he made the point to pull himself back out. But he said after the race, it wouldn't have been right for me to win that when those two were the best cars all day. So
Trouble for Theodore. He goes off course once again on the Rahal Straight, so he'll lose a little bit more time.
He loses a bit more time indeed, got a little bit sideways and off the gravel there. But James Hughes made the point that it would only be fair if the two drivers who were best of the best at the end of the day got the chance to race for the win. So he gave that win and the lead up to Billy Smith and Polisek, who subsequently had an incredible battle for the victory at Watkins Glen. But it set the tone for sportsmanship in PCA, and at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the James Hughes Sportsmanship Award given out year in, year out to the driver with the best sportsmanship record in all of PCA sim racing.
Yes, indeed. Probably one of the most amazing moments in all, and hopefully that trend continues here in Series 5.
We'll see how it carries on, but as it stands, James Hughes putting on a solid run in 11th. Michael Coopersman still your leader over Rositas. Framheim running down the 05 again, and then Kika, Smith, and Peterson in their own pretty good battle at a Patak, and then Malia, Slagle, Anderson, Hughes, as we've talked about all together, and then Jacob Schumann, Mark Hughes. Yes, there are two Hughes in this race. Mark, brother of James, member of the St. Louis region of the PCA. Haven't had the chance to talk about him. Jacob Schumann, also one of those Carolina region drivers who will try and shuffle his way towards the front of the pack. And then Dewey Kang. Everybody loves Dewey Kang's livery, so we'll give him a little bit of TV time here because the rainbow colors there, the throwback that he's got, he's a favorite across, I think, pretty much the whole of PCA sim racing at the end of the day.
Most definitely.
Also, no, and I forget, to be fair, someone in chat is going to tell me what that is a throwback to, because in fairness, I'm blanking off the top of my head, and I'll kick myself later when I remember. But I know that that car is a throwback to something from the 70s. I just forget what exactly. So I'll take my lap later and figure it out in due course. But also, maybe not a surprise that James Hughes leads that PCA EDE program that we've been talking about. And I guess if we're going to talk about EDE, this is the perfect chance to talk about Z1 Dashboard, the e-application for helping you during your races. The Z1 Dashboard includes over 170 real-life dashboards with 12 track maps, including everything you'll need to know about your position on track, competitors' positions, and where you'll be after pit stops. The Z1 Dashboard can also take care of engineering and strategy on track. It'll tell you where your competition is, when you should pit, how much fuel you need to take, who's in front of you or behind you, what the weather is, and whether or not you're gaining or losing time to the drivers around you. You can find out more information at z1dashboard.com. And Z1 Dashboard is offering a free sim racing software package to one PCA sim racing EDE student each Friday. Tonight's winner is Christoph Schitko from the Magic region of the PCA. And if you don't know about the EDE program, provides you all sorts of coaching to get you up to speed with PCA sim racing. If you're interested in joining PCA sim racing, you need to be a member of PCA first, need to have iRacing second, but you don't necessarily need an expensive wheel, just the sim and Porsches and the tracks that they run will do. But you got all that can sign up for EDE at pcasimracing.com/EDE, and you might be the winner of that software package from Z1 Dashboard week in, week out. So congratulations to Christian for being this week's winner. We'll see who winner number 2 is next Friday night at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. And we'll roll off of one read into another and talk about some of the events coming up in the world of podium esports on this weekend of fun and festivity and Labor Day madness. And tomorrow night, we're back on air at 10 p.m. Eastern for the FTF Grand National Series presented by Splash & Go Graphics. The Indianapolis 502 Electric Boogaloo presented by VAR Visuals will come your way from Darlington Raceway on twitch.tv/podium esports. And then Sunday night, it's the GameWorks Racing League from Darlington Raceway. It'll be 8 p.m. Eastern, Sunday, September 6th, also on the Podium Esports Twitch channel before we come back to PCA from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park next Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on the PCA Sim Racing YouTube channel. So, plenty of action from Darlington this week, plenty of racing in PCA this week. Fall season's, I think, back in full swing, Taylor, as we continue on through the Odyssey that will be Series 5.
Yeah, sim racing is back in swing this fall, as we will see multiple other series throughout the rest of the month here on Podium Esports Network. But of course, the one everyone's been waiting for, the PCA Sim Racing Series.
Biggest and baddest of them all, one of the largest independent series in all of iRacing at this point. Over 200 drivers, Taylor, which you go back...
There is no other series like that.
I know. Absolutely crazy, I think. When you go back and you figure out just how wild things are and just how crazy it became. But we'll take a look and see what goes between Theodore Framheim and Liam Radzitis, because Framheim has cleared the 05, so you can move Framheim up into second once again. This yo-yo game continues, I suppose. And then you've got that good group of Smith, Kikas, Leaders, and Patak just a little bit further back.
Yeah, he's actually gaining a little bit of time on Michael Cooper Smith right now. It's about 2.2 seconds, now 2.1, and closing. It was about 2.5 seconds at one point. So Theodore Framheim is definitely going to be one to watch as we continue to click more laps here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Currently running 13 of 27, or 21 minutes left to go here. And anything can happen. We've seen leaders make mistakes. We've seen others cause issues. Lap traffic be a factor throughout all these races. So this could be an interesting battle we could be seeing here as he drops it down another half a second. 1.5 separate the two drivers.
1.5 separate that group at the front. We'll slide a little bit further back because I think it's worth hitting a little bit of the action going on further back in the field. How about this? Brothers Huth are right there in 11th and 12th next to each other on the leaderboard. There's about 5 seconds between them, but if you go back to Mark, you've got a good group with Sebal Banyopadhyay, one of the longest names in PCA Sim Racing, but he doesn't mind at all. And Jacob Schum also in the mix too there, absolutely hounding the 770, looking for spots. So Jacob trying to sort his way through it, and does actually sort his way through it, as Schum will leap ahead of Sebal, take over that 13th spot, and trying to run off of Sebal and Dewey Kang, who's also in the hunt there too.
Dewey King trying to catch up to Shabala Banyopadhyay as they come out of the Andretti hairpin, and trying to see if he can capitalize on what's going on around him. But meanwhile, up ahead of them, the two Huth brothers have pulled away from them and have tried to close into the top 10. As James has caught up to William Anderson right now as they go under the Miller's Bridge. So this could be an opportunity for James to break into the top 10 here in the next lap or so.
Could potentially be a big opportunity for James to make it happen, as he's right on the tail of William Everett Anderson. But as we come across that 20-minute mark, it is time to bring you the Porsche Midway Race Break. Porsche, there is no substitute. Michael Coopersmith is your leader, as James Huth makes the pass on William Anderson, but Coopersmith P1, Framheim P2, Liam Radzitis in third, fourth belongs to Billy Smith, Leif Peterson runs in the fifth spot, sixth belongs to Matthew Kikish, James Patak tops for Team Haggerty at the moment, he's in seventh, John Malia runs in the eighth position, ninth to Robert Schlegel, and 10th to James Huth.
Edward Anderson is in 11th with Mark Hughes in 12th. Jacob Schum is in 13th with Shabala Benyopaje in 14th. Dewey Kang in 15th with Doug Metzel in 16th. Igor Soiker is in 17th with Chris Braun in 18th. Charles Yao is in 19th, and Christian Rava is 20th.
21st belongs to Michael Ryan Johnson. 22nd is Matt Mitchell. Jonathan Shue is 23rd. 24th belongs to Brian Smith. Greg Carr is 25th. 26th to Derwin Kostanek. And Greg Fullwood, last car on this grid, in 27th. And that concludes tonight's Porsche Midway Race Break. Porsche, there is no substitute. Cooper Smith, your leader for now, but that may change in just a bit. And I believe we have another battle on our hands because Theodore Vanheim has made mistakes, yo-yoed back behind this group, then in front of this group, then come back around and looped his way through all this, and now is back on the rear bumper of Cooper Smith again. And it does feel like a little bit of deja vu, doesn't it?
It certainly does, as he puts almost a bumper to the back bumper of Michael Cooper Smith as they come out of turn 11. Down the front straightaway they will go. He is practically pushing that number 2 car down the front straightaway, heading to the Andretti hairpin. He looks to the outside as Cooper Smith tries to throw the defensive line into turn 1, but here comes Framheim around the long way. Side by side they will go. They will still remain side by side just for a few more seconds as Cooper Smith will retain the race lead.
Framheim nearly pulled the crossover to the outside. It was excellent driving from the 106 to even have a chance to make that pass on the outside at the Andretti hairpin, which is just about unheard of here at Laguna Seca. You do not make passes there. It is almost impossible to make it work.
Yes, it is. But here comes Liam Radzitis.
And Radzitis, too. I wonder if the battling between Cooper Smith and Framheim has slowed both those two up enough to where Radzitis has been able to claw his way back into this ever so slightly. I also wonder if Radzitis might have learned a few things from riding behind and then nearly got himself in trouble. He had 2 wheels off on the sand and nearly lost it there coming up the hill.
He certainly did, as they're now heading into the corkscrew once again. They try to dive it in there, hit their marks, and heading up to the rainy curve, they're still trying their best, battling very hard indeed, as Radzitis has fallen off to about a second back from Framheim.
They continue to roll around here. Framheim going to put the issue to task again going into turn 11. And how does he attack the turn this time? He's looking for that late apex to try and get underneath Cooper Smith going down the front straightaway. That's what he's looking for, but no success yet for that number 106 machine. And again, Cooper Smith will go to the inside at the Andretti hairpin. And again, Framheim will go to the outside. And he's going to try and, tried to cross over behind Cooper Smith to get the run. So Framheim is looking every which way he possibly can to change apexes, come up with different lines. He's getting creative and trying to find his way around Cooper Smith, to his credit. It hasn't stuck, but you can't blame him for trying. He's trying it and going about it in a very smart way, too.
He is. He's trying different avenues as he gets right to the back bumper once again. Now he'll try once again the outside run. Now the crossover as he tries to go to the inside, but we saw Cooper Smith put the block on him there as well as he was running that line as they go underneath the VP Racing Fuel Bridge. And here comes Liam Radzitis once again catching back up after his small little bobble.
I mean, you have to watch Radzitis for a little bit, but I think if you're Framheim, do you really care all that much if Radzitis is there? Are you really, like, could you lose the spot? Yes, but you've lost it once and gained it back, so I almost think it doesn't necessarily matter. And I don't really think he's looking out the rear view either. I think it's all eyes on Cooper Smith at the moment.
It certainly is. He is focused on what's in front of him, not what's behind him. He gets a run to the inside as they go into turn 10, but Cooper Smith has the better entry in there. He has to back off. Here comes Framheim. Now Radzitis goes to the outside into turn 11. As these 3 Porsches battling it out. This is why we love Porsche racing. This is the pro class for you. Great, exciting racing here tonight.
And in a perfect example of the commentator's curse, I say that Theodore doesn't have to matter and doesn't have to worry about Liam, and then he gets a terrible run out of turn 11, and all of a sudden here comes Liam Radzitis right on his rear bumper. So it would be so very me to jinx this whole thing and screw it all up. But that actually did separate this group just a bit. As Radzitis now beginning to fade away just a shade, and Framheim beginning to gain on Cooper Smith once again.
Great battling between the top 3 here as they continue pressing forward here as they make their way toward, I believe that's turn number 5. As they make the run towards the Rahal Straight underneath the VP Racing Fuel Bridge, they will go.
Solid work here. Fremheim is going to get a good run. Got a really good exit out of that corner up the Rahal Straight. So he'll be in the ballpark when we get to the corkscrew, and he may have a shot. I think 11 may be the spot. The corkscrew is just going to be about gaining that track position that you need to even have a shot to make it.
A little bobble right there.
Little bobble, but not excessively terrible, as they'll come through Granny Curve, down the hill again, over into turn 10, and now 11. Let's see what Fremheim does at this very tight left-hander that seems to set up so many passes, and what he thinks about looking for the Andretti hairpin. Nearly gets into the back of Coopersmith again. That chucked him up, so no action yet until they get down to the Andretti hairpin, I think, Taylor.
Yeah, it looks like it's safe to be right there as they now make the run down the front straightaway, heading towards the Andretti hairpin. Will we see Theodore Fremheim take the outside lane once again? The answer will be kind of that middle groove. Runs it wide through the second half of the Andretti hairpin, and then gets back on the throttle as they make the run to turn 3.
Continuing to hold him up. We'll keep our eyes on that paddle, and as they continue to go at it, we'll slide a little bit further back and keep our eyes on some of the big battles. You've got Robert Schlegel, William Anderson. You've got Shebal Ben-Yopadhyay, Dewey Kang, Doug Metzel, Igor Soiker, Chris Braun, Charlie Yao, all in the mix too. And then a little bit further back, Christian Rava, Michael Johnson, Matt Mitchell, Jonathan Shue, Brian Swith. So a few good battle packs in there, but everybody all keeping their eyes on this battle for the race lead. Although I think we're probably worth keeping our eyes here on Slaker and Metzel too. Those two are absolutely on top of each other. And Doug Metzel is another one of the Team Haggerty drivers in this pro class race.
Wanting to put a good show for Team Haggerty for them as they're working their way up through the front half of the course, now heading underneath the Mother's Bridge. And Metzel is putting the pressure on Igor Soiker as they come towards the Rahal Straight. So a very crucial moment for him. He wants to try to get a good top 15, top 10 run for Haggerty. Underneath the VP Bridge, they will go, and let's see if he gets that good corner exit off. He gets right there. He might have a little bit of help with the slipstream to make the pass.
Might indeed have a little bit of help to make the pass in the slipstream as they continue to go up the hill. Meanwhile, Fremheim to the outside of Coopersmith again at the Andretti hairpin, and still can't quite get the pass done. So we'll keep an eye on those two, but Soiker holding off Metzel as they come through Grady Curve.
Another great multiple battles all over the track. You just have to look everywhere and just point to a section of the track. You'll see two cars battling out for some position here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca as we are closing on the 11-minute mark, or 7 laps to go.
And there's the run. There it is. Fremheim got to the inside of Coopersmith over in turn 5 up the hill, and we finally had that lead change we were looking for. Theodore Fremheim, Teddy Fremheim up to the front, back to P1 ahead of Michael Coopersmith, and that had been coming, no doubt about it. Fremheim's had the pace. He just needed the opportunity to work over Coopersmith and get to his inside. Finally did it after about 5 or 6 laps. New leader, 106, Teddy Fremheim out of the Golden Gate region of the PCA.
What a pass indeed for Fremheim to be able to take the lead away from Michael Coopersmith as they now come up to turn 10, and it's still going to be the 3-car battle for the race lead because here comes Liam Rodzitas. He has closed the gap once again to the back bumper of Michael Coopersmith as they enter turn 11.
So now it might be about Coopersmith and Rodzitas, I think, more than anything else, because Fremheim is gone, already opening up about a half a second lead on Coopersmith and then some. And I haven't seen anything that suggests, unless they really have been holding back something, Coopersmith and Rodzitas, I think, may be left settling for second unless Fremheim makes a mistake, which we have seen him do at points earlier in this race. So it isn't necessarily over, but if they all keep it clean, Fremheim's got the most pace out of the 3. I don't think there's any questioning that.
No, I agree with you 100% on that matter. Fremheim is definitely the car to beat here tonight at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, but Coopersmith and Rodzitas are still going to try everything that they can. I want to go a little further back, though, to P4. Billy Smith and Leif Peterson. Now, these two have not only raced each other in the PCA, but in multiple other different series. I remember calling these two drivers, even though they were running in multiple different classes, Prototype and GTE. These two drivers have raced Toyota, so they respect each other and know how to race around each other. But this time it's for the same position in the same class. So Leif Peterson's about half a second back from Billy Smith as they approach the corkscrew, so these two drivers are definitely giving it all that they have, but they got a lot of work to do, though, to catch up to the top three, about 8 seconds back.
You want to talk about old guard of PCA sim racing? These two absolutely count for old guard about as much as you can get, and they both come from the same region too, the Maverick region, covering the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So these two have seen each other in real life, have seen each other so much on the sim. If you want two drivers who know what to expect and know how to get it done, these two absolutely qualify as some of the best in PCA sim racing.
Most definitely. You have the former champion and a driver who's always in contention for a top 5, a podium, even a win. Leif Peterson has yet collected a win, if I remember correctly, through our history here with PCA, but he is one who will hopefully get a win here in the near future.
It just seems like Leif Peterson's always in the top 5, always in contention, always fighting for a good finish. It's not some of this, way back in like 35th, 36th, 37th type racing from that 913 car. It is speed and a veritable contender week in, week out. That's what you see with that 913 car. So no doubt Leif Peterson's going to give a charge here at some point. But Billy Smith has the ability to charge too. I think that's what makes this interesting. Even though he ran a little bit wide on entry up into the Ray Hall straight, you cannot count out Billy Smith out of this race either.
No, you cannot. I mean, he's looking at the lap times. He was only about, let's say, about 0.3 slower than Theodore Franheim right now this last lap. So he has speed, and he is running exponentially well, running consistent lines for the most part, running very quick lap times as they come across into turn 11 right now, as the leader has ran a 1:29.05. Let's see what Billy Smith runs as he comes up to the start-finish line. Here, still having Leif Peterson in tow. He runs a 1:30.03, so not that very fast of a lap time. So he's starting to fall off a little bit, probably with the tire wear.
Maybe a little bit with the tire wear, but Peterson was within a tenth, so they're basically dead even. Of note, though, Teddy Framheim went 1:29.0 that last time, by faster than anybody else in the field by at least 0.3 of a second, and in most cases a full second. Faster than Cooper Smith by 0.3, faster than Renzitas by 0.5. We'll take a call from Jim Engelman, the marketing director of the PCA in the national offices, and shine our light for a little bit on the 22. Or the 204 in 22nd, rather. That's where you'll find Matt Mitchell. Matt's the social media and marketing coordinator for PCA, and Taylor Burris. Want to guess what region he comes from?
Peach State.
Peach State.
There we go.
For $1,000. So, like we said, Peach State is everywhere, but yet another influential Peach Stater, and pretty cool to see him throw up everything on social media. A lot of fun posts, and got to give him credit. New tagline for the PCA that we've seen in advance of Series 5. The cards aren't real, but the racing is.
It's a tagline that should be used for all forms of virtual racing. I mean, even though they're not real, this is real competition. This is the closest thing anyone, sports car racing, oval racing, dirt racing, rallying, any type of, even vintage racing, this is the closest you can get to actually getting behind the wheel of any one of these race cars. And, iRacing is the pinnacle, I believe, of this, to where you could take a Porsche and put it on any track, at any time of day, in any condition that you would like to have, excluding rain, of course, but just having that ability to drive and learn the track and learn the car and appreciate what the professionals have to do.
And to be fair, they also are racing for some prestigious prizes as well. You go back to the first series, Series 1, Billy Smith got the opportunity to head to the Porsche Experience Center just outside of Atlanta, the headquarters for all things Porsche on the east coast of the United States, and got to go have a day over there and just go to town and have a lot of fun. Brought a few of his PCA sim racing friends with him out of the Peach State region, and it was pretty cool to see, I think, everybody come together in the name of sim racing. Same thing that we can say from the Rolex 24 earlier this year, where there was a contingent of PCA sim racing members and Podium Esports commentators who were down in Daytona Beach for the Rolex 24. So lots of fun, I think, to be had all around, and a lot of really cool stuff to take in. But Teddy Franheim still in control of this as we work our way into the final few minutes of tonight's event.
as we're closing in those final few minutes, speaking of that Rolex 24, at the end of the season, it's going to be a little bit of a sad, heavy heart because the Porsche GTE program, or GTLM as we call it here in the U.S., will be coming to a close. We'll still see Porsches on the track competing in the GT Daytona and in the Grand Sports class, but as far as for the top GT class in sports car racing here in America, that Porsche program will be coming to an end, unfortunately.
I would have to believe, though, that's probably temporary.
I agree.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that, too, that, yes, it is unfortunate, and I think they've been very happy with what they've seen from Core Autosport. It's just the pandemic hits hard, and it hits tough, and it's really, really tricky to maintain factory programs across the world. And so, ultimately, when you've got some pickings that have to be done, it comes down to pulling some very, very tough straws, and unfortunately, the GCEs for Porsche, I think, get the toughest of the straws. So a little bit lighter GTLM field in IMSA next year, but I would expect to see Porsche back in the not-too-distant future in GTLM. But you're still going to have them in GT3 and in GT4 in the Michelin Pilot Challenge with these very same cabins. So not all completely going away.
No, I mean, and I will have to say Porsche is probably the most hands-on manufacturer when it comes to any form of sports car racing, whether it be in the top levels such as IMSA to the grassroots racing such as when it comes to SCCA racing. I mean, Porsche is always there for its customer drivers to the best of its ability, and that is something that should be applauded for, because Porsche, there is no replacement. There is no other manufacturer like Porsche.
There is no substitute. Goodness gracious, get your taglines right.
Well, you know what? You got to pour it on a little bit more. You got to give the credit where credit is due.
And just to simplify it the way you need to.
I know, but still.
Right. No, but I do think you have a valid point there in that you look at Porsche and what they do in sim racing in particular, the only manufacturer to have a dedicated iRacing World Championship, the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. Christian Rava has pulled it behind the wall, but the Porsche Esports Super Cup that you can see on Saturdays on iRacing social media, their Twitch, their Facebook, their YouTube. So if you want some road racing from the best around the world, make sure you check that out too. If you like the racing here from PCA Sim Racing, we'd be remiss not to talk about the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. Or actually, I think it might officially be Porsche Esports Super Cup presented by Tag Heuer, one of the two. Anywho, the sponsors are correct. This we know. And the racing is great. This we know as well.
With only a minute to go, Theodore Framheim has pulled away from Michael Cooper-Smith by about 1.7 seconds. And then about another 7 seconds back, you'll go to find Liam Brazitas. So Theodore has pretty much left the building for the most part as he is trying to hold that gap, maintain it, as he will be coming to the white flag, I believe, this time around, if I'm looking at everything correctly on timing and scoring.
Probably is done, I think. Framheim, I think, may be coming to checkers. We'll see where he is in the clock. It'll be close, but it might be a last lap. But a good redemption, good recovery drive for the Golden Gate region drivers. So you want to keep your eyes on him over the course of the season because he already looks like a threat. New to the series, new to the game, but speed, and plenty of speed he's got. Also of note, tomorrow at 10 a.m. if you're interested in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup by iRacing. So get everything down across the P's in the Q's. They'll be racing at the Nordschleife, the Nürburgring. So certainly going to have a lot of fun going after the green hell. But for now, all about Teddy Framheim, who will come through the corner and bring this trophy not too far up the road. He's about, maybe an hour and a half away, and the local knowledge for the local driver will pay off to keep the trophy near the bay. Teddy Framheim wins the PCA Pro Class race at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. The final race of round one of Series 5 in the top class to the number 106 out of Santa Clara, California.
What a excellent performance for him indeed, as he is coming to celebrate here his victory, his first ever victory, and his first ever start in the PCA Sim Racing Series.
That's a good average finish, 1 for 1, I'd say. Certainly.
Let's see if he can continue that.
Right. Brand new to iRacing, but we're going to have a lot, I think, to learn about him, and a lot to hear about him in the weeks to come, because he looked so quick tonight. There's absolutely no denying it. So we'll take a look and see what the full standings look like here, but incredible stuff and incredible work there for Framheim to finish off the racing today. As everybody else comes in, looks like we've got just about everybody wrapped up, and it is almost done and dusted. Chris Braun, the last driver who will come across the finish line to wrap up this evening's proceedings, and it's going to be all about Teddy Framheim at the end, as Chris Braun will find his way around turn 11, bring it home, finish off this race, be the last one to take the checkered flag. And as he comes across the line, we will bring you the full field rundown and tell you where your favorite driver finished. Teddy Framheim climbed from second to first, fell back to third, passed Michael Coopersmith and Leah Radzitis to take back P1 and finish the evening there. It was Framheim ahead of Coopersmith and Radzitis at the end of the day. Billy Smith finished in fourth. Fifth went to Leif Peterson. Matthew Kikish was sixth. Seventh to the 721 of James Patak. John Malia finished in eighth. Ninth went to the 12 of James Youth. And Robert Schlegel rounded out the top 10.
William Edward Anderson will come home in 11th, with Mark Hughes coming home in 12th. Dewey Kang will come home in 13th. Igor Swiker will come home 14th. Doug Metzel will come home in 15th. Shabala Benyopaje will come home in 16th, with Jacob Schum 17th. 18th will go to Charles Yao. 19th, Matt Mitchell, with Michael Ryan Johnson rounding out your top 20.
21st this evening was Jonathan Schum. Ryan Swift was 22nd. Chris Braun 23rd, and Greg Carr in 24th. Christian Rava 25th. 26th was Jovan Kostanak. Craig Fullwood rounded out the 27-car grid this evening. All about Teddy Framheim. We've had some drivers come to victory lane tonight who have been around for a while. You sit on the opposite end of things, completely new to all of this. So I think we have to ask the question first. What got you into iRacing in particular, having been around sim racing for the better part of the last decade?
You know, I'm not ashamed to say that I kind of came up in sim racing. I learned car control in sim racing. Eventually I could afford a car and go autocrossing and all that stuff. But actually the lockdown situation kind of prompted me to look for actual competition, because I had never really looked into that before. And I'm a member of PCA. I autocross with those guys, and it seemed like a natural fit.
Seemed like a natural fit. Your words, not mine, but I think there are a lot of folks who would be very, very jealous of that 1-for-1 line that you come out of tonight with. But I think it's important to flash back to earlier in the race when you overshot the corkscrew. You just take the lead and then slip back to third, and you had to work your way around Radzitis and Coopersmith again. Where was your mind at that point, and how did you reset it to get yourself back in a position to work your way around both of them?
Man, that was pretty painful. So I hadn't done, to be honest, enough running at a high fuel load in practice to really know where the braking zone was. And suddenly I was on my own out in front, and I got it a little bit wrong, just enough that I wasn't going to make it, and I was going to have a penalty no matter what I did. But I knew I had pace, and for a few laps, I gauged things. I was keeping up with the two guys out front. Crucially, the guy all the way out in front wasn't pulling away, so I knew that if I could just get around to second place, I might have a chance. So just kind of had to reset, reassess my markers around the course, and go from there.
This is also a track that I imagine you will know very well. You're no less than an hour and a half away from Laguna Seca to your front door in Santa Clara. So how big is it for you to take the experience that you have with this place, and how important was that in your run tonight?
Yeah, in fact, I'm getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. There's a PCA combination DE and club race this weekend at Laguna Seca both days, so I'll be there. Yeah, it feels good. This is one of those where I'm familiar enough with the course to where, I mean, if there was a race that I was going to win, I would hope that it would be this one, and I'm really glad it worked out.
worked out well, and you had a little bit of insider knowledge too, knowing the real life track so well. But I doubt that's the case for Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, where we head next week. So how do you prepare? How do you practice? How do you get ready for next Friday night to try and make it 2 for 2?
That's a great question. First of all, I need to find the time. I've not turned a lap in the sim or in reality on that track. So I would say my work is cut out for me. I'll watch some videos, try to get a sense for the flow of the course, and then, spend some time on my own.
Finally, and I think most importantly, who do you need to thank for win number 1 and race number 1 of PCA Sim Racing tonight?
Thank you to PCA Sim Racing, or PCA in general, for putting these events on. They were one of the first car clubs, I think, to really kind of embrace this method of competition. And it's awesome to see the following and the number of people participating. I haven't seen anything else like it anywhere else, to be honest. And thank you to Podium Esports, you guys, for broadcasting. It's always nice to be able to share this with, family and friends who otherwise wouldn't really know what it means when I sit in this chair with my VR headset on. And thank you to my wife and my family for watching as well.
VR headset too. He's in the game. He's in big, and he's got speed. Might be new, but I have a feeling we're going to be calling your name a lot this season, and have a feeling it might not be the last time we chat with you today. But in either case, congratulations on your first win and your first start in PCA Sim Racing. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us, and we look forward to seeing you next Friday night up at Mosport.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Teddy Framheim, P1 tonight in the Pro Class, and tonight's Pro Class racing, as always, presented to you by Porsche. Porsche. There is no substitute. And just like that, Taylor Burris, night 1, Series 5, done and dusted. And we go east, head away from San Francisco Bay and this glorious racetrack, which I think absolutely lived up to its billing, as it tends to do. Exciting racing always at Laguna Seca, and an interesting mix of drivers at the end of the day. Teddy Framheim, the winner in the big class, the Pro Class, but plenty of action across all 4 classes, and a lot of fun, I think, all around.
Indeed, a lot of fun all the way around in all 4 classes. Every single one of these drivers who won tonight deserved their win. They put on extraordinary performances, had to overcome many different obstacles, whether it be falling behind from the current race leader, gaining positions, losing time, even spinning out in the middle of the track or making a mistake to recover and come back and win, such as what we saw from Theodore tonight, is exceptional. I'm looking forward to seeing what these drivers can do throughout the rest of the season, especially next week at Canadian Tire.
Yeah, Teddy's the most obvious sort of redemption story and comeback story of the night, but that's not to take away from the runs that we saw from Trey, the runs that we saw from our other winners this evening. Really solid work across the board from all of them. Remind you that coming up, we've got a few more events to pay attention to this weekend in the world of Podium Esports. First up tomorrow night on twitch.tv/Podium Esports, it's the For the Fans Grand National Series presented by Splash and Go Graphics as they run the Indianapolis 502 Electric Boogaloo presented by Bar Visuals at Darlington Raceway. Those the Xfinity Series cars, and so the biggest streamers in Twitch. David Schildhouse, Michael Cozy Jr., Derek Justice, Justin Malillo and company all will go battle at the Lady in Black 10 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night on the Podium Esports Twitch channel. And then Sunday night during the Southern 500 on the Podium Esports Twitch channel, the GameWorks Racing League takes to Darlington Raceway for their penultimate race of the season. You'll hear our own Taylor Burris on the call for that at 8 p.m. Eastern this Sunday night, September 6th, before our next break of PCA action and our next fun times with the PCA will come to us from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. That's where you'll find round 2 of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series. The Series 5 continues, and we go racing in the Caymans from Mosport next Friday, September 11th. The broadcast will start at 7 p.m. Eastern here on the PCA Sim Racing YouTube channel. That will do it for tonight's broadcast of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series, a barn burner to start off Series 5, and we're back every Friday night in September and October to bring you all the action from Laguna Seca. We'll keep Laguna Seca and other places. We'll keep our eyes peeled, though, for all the fun from Canadian Tire next week. But until then, Francisco Scaramuza, Gary Sexton, and John Theodore at Podium Esports, for our producer Ryan Bauer, for my colleague in the booth Taylor Burris, and for everyone at PCA Sim Racing, Doug Atkinson, Jim Hemming, and DJ Line and Race Control, and all of the steering committee, I am James Pike, the voice of Podium Esports. Thank you so much for watching our broadcast of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series from Laguna Seca. We look forward to seeing you next Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.